Hello and welcome to Mile High Reefers. I'm Scott Anderson, and this is probably my most requested video I've had in a long time. And just about everybody who posts on my channel wants to know more about this clam. So here it is. This is my Squamosa clam. And I've had this guy for getting close to 3 years now. So here's a bit of a flashback. This is from one of the first episodes of Mile High Reefers. I think it's actually the second or third real episode that I did. So check out the clam in my old 90-gallon tank really early on.
When I first bought him, everything that you see in green was a really deep burgundy color. And he just bleached out. He went from this deep burgundy to this really light pink color. And then the green started to fill in everywhere that was deep burgundy. So I'm sure it's just the differences in lighting and everything in my tank, but it is just the weirdest color change. Something would go from deep burgundy to this kind of aqua green.
It's always fun to go down memory lane. And I think this just dramatically shows how big and how fast these clams can grow. In fact, the shell portion that you were looking at is actually buried under the sand. Meaning that those ridges or plates that you were looking at in the old video, they exist, but they're way down under the sand. All of this is new growth since then. So think about that for a minute. Think about the amount of calcium that this clam has soaked up over the last 2.5 to 3 years. This clam probably weighs at least 5 pounds. It's about a foot from the end of the mantle over here to the end of the mantle over here. And all of this skeletal structure has grown from calcium and alkalinity that I have been dosing in my tank for all of these years. So just imagine how much this guy sucks out of your tank. It's a tremendous amount of calcium. Now, one of the cool things about him is while he's sucking a tremendous amount of calcium out of his tank, he is also sucking water in this side and blowing water out that side. Now, while he's doing that, he's filtering particles out of the water, and that's part of how he eats. Now, I don't feed this clam. I've never fed this clam. I do feed the tank. I've got a fairly well stocked amount of fish in this tank. And as I feed them, they eat, they produce waste, and that waste ends up in the water column. Well, this clam sucks that waste through and uses it as part of its life cycle, right? Just like we eat, it eats, and it also produces waste. But it sucks in and maintains a portion of that waste. So this clam can also be thought of as part of my filter system, which is really cool that you can have a big, beautiful piece of your filter system like this. So along with the Squamosa, I also have this Derasa clam, and from the angle it's a little hard to see how big he is, but he's about 6 inches front to back, and he's reasonably good size. He's not real big yet, but he's, I guess if you were to buy one, what you'd call a large clam. But they get huge. These guys can get up to 24 inches in length from front to back, which is enormous for most reefers. I mean, how many of us have room for something that's 2 feet long? It's crazy how big these guys can get. But anyways, I bought this guy from Live Aquaria, and when I bought him, he was the wrong clam. I originally ordered a striped Derasa, and they sent me a gold blue rim. But Live Aquaria, of course, was good and took him back, and it worked out. So, let's actually check out the original video I shot so you can see just how small this guy was when I bought him. I also ordered a striped Derasa Clam, and forgive me, I don't remember the exact name that he was listed on the Live Aquaria site as, but basically they have lines that run across the entire clam and tons of coloration. And this guy's more kind of brown, spotty looking. So I knew he was wrong, and I followed the same process I did on the anemone, and they credited my account. It's disappointing to me because that Derasa Clam is one I really, really, really wanted. I had been watching those on the site, on the Divers Den, on their Buy It Now for literally months, thinking one of these days I gotta get one of those. They're just so gorgeous. And when I ordered mine, I got the wrong one. The other thing is, he is incredibly small. They give you a little size on the strain, and it just doesn't prepare you for how small he really is. I'm thinking 2 inches in my head is bigger than that. But anyways, I'm pretty happy with the fact that I got my money back with no real issues. I'm disappointed I didn't get the clam I want. But I did get a free clam and a free anemone out of the deal, so I can't complain too much about it. So yeah, little tiny fellow, wasn't he? But he's grown a lot. Now, one thing I do with all of my clams is I put the clam itself on a piece of substrate. So under this guy, you can just barely see it down here. There's a little rock hanging out under the sand. And this is less to support the clam, but to give something for its byssal threads to attach to. Your Derasas and your Squamosas are going to put out byssal threads, and that attaches the clam to something. But the last thing I want is for my clam to be attached to the glass under the sand or to a big giant piece of rock. I want him attached to something that I can then move around in the tank, because let's face it, this isn't a reef, this is a reef tank, and this thing can live for decades, and I will likely have to move him over time. So the 2 clams I have are actually attached to small pieces of substrate that I can then move around. And that way I don't end up with a really big clam attached to a really big rock and he's stuck. Because with those byssal threads, if you cut those threads, you risk the health of your clam. I've heard mixed reviews on how big of a deal this is, but personally it's just not a risk I want to take with my clam. So there we have it. A little overview of my clams. Now there are so many clams you can buy. You can buy Squamosas, Derasas, Maximas, Gigas, Croceas. There's so many clams out there. If you're really looking for one, do good research before you buy one. The best I can really tell you is Squamosa, Derasa, under my lighting, my water conditions, my feeding schedule, nearly bulletproof. These guys are probably some of the most successful things I've kept. This Squamosa's lived through almost everything that I've thrown at it, and there's very little left in this tank from when I bought this Squamosa, and this thing has just thrived. So I'm thrilled with it. So if you have enough space and you're able to keep calcium levels up and you got the lighting, why not try a clam? They are fantastic. Anyways, thank you for watching this episode of Mile High Reefers. And if you like what I do, hit the like button. And if you haven't yet subscribed, subscribe. I'm always putting out new videos, and I really do appreciate the comments and the suggestions for the videos you'd like to see. Thanks again.